Hello, good evening. I hope everyone can hear me okay and the sound is loud enough. I move the microphone and everyone's doing okay. So, I would really like to think that the low that we made on the 25th of November a week ago was quite an important low. And I think we said last time that if we could get back above this 618 fib level, so I've drawn my fibs from the December low to the June high, if we could get back above this level and this support and resistance level, then potentially we could, if we could hold it, we could see another leg higher and we could bounce off the bottom of what sort of looks like a declining wedge. I'm going to draw it a bit more like this, and then it looks a bit more like a channel. So what I'm looking for is to see if we can now that we've pulled back and we're retesting it, if we can hold this 61.8 level at Binance and Tether. It's at 7287. And so this is the level that we're looking at. You can see the highs here and the lows here. So it is an important support and resistance level, but it's messy. We've been going back and forward. Yesterday, it looked like we had a perfect toe hold on it. We've dropped underneath it and we're kind of washing back and forward, really kind of testing the bulls and the bears either way. So I don't know, this is an ideal, it really is an ideal level for us to bounce from. But to be quite honest, this is Bitcoin. We could go down and go all the way down and do a double bottom and it would still be okay and this would be a valid low. We're just going to look and see if we can turn up from here. It would make everybody, it would make the bulls a lot more comfortable if we could rally from here. Now, in terms of our moving averages and where we are, in a downtrend with all of our moving averages lined up bearish. So we have a lot of overhead resistance if we're going to turn this trend around and stop this downtrend and turn it into an uptrend again. So in terms of levels, if we can hold this level where I'm looking for, and the real bull bear line is going to come at around 8,500, 8,560 here at Binance. And we'll see what happens up there. That's going to be kind of the midpoint of this channel. We could really from here rally all the way back, to 9,200 to this 200 moving average again, and still, carry on lower in a downtrend. So, we have a lot of work to do to turn the ship around, but we've got the first signs. So sideways at a pretty important level and waiting to see what happens. Let's take a look at a few other exchanges and see what kind of level we're talking about. So if we go here to BitMEX and we put our 61.8 on from this low to this high, and we draw it in. I haven't got it on here. 61.8, there we are. And you can see 7224, and we're holding the level. We're just going sideways. If we go down and we look at a 4-hour chart, here we are just kind of sitting on it, saying, are we going to find support here and turn up higher again? I find Heikin-Ashi candles really good indicators for a trend change. Here we're all just kind of sideways, red, kind of doji looking. So there's no sign that we're going up yet. One way I like to see, I use a 236 fib. So if I put that on from the high on 29th to the low that we made this morning, then the 236 fib, an hourly close above 7327, that would be a good sign that we're going up again. And that's also the hourly 200. So for all of these exchanges, same story, at a pretty important level, looking for signs that we can rally from here and just a little bit stuck sideways. I would agree with somebody on Twitter, the bears are pretty noisy. A lot of people are really quite bearish, and when you look at this chart, why wouldn't they be? We are still in a downtrend, so it's just going to be interesting to see if we can hold this level or not. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm certainly, I was more optimistic this morning. I should still be optimistic because we're holding the level, which is we haven't really gone anywhere. So, either way, let's see. So let's take a look at Ethereum, because we've got pretty much the same story in Ethereum if we go from last December lows to the highs that we made in June, we are sitting above and holding above a 786 fib level. Sorry, a 786 fib level. That's the fib retracement that we got down to. If we can hold above this, we should rally back to the 61.8. And if we do, then when you reverse it to 786, your first target is the 38.2. So that's the meat in our sandwich. That's our trade between these two levels. So here we're counter trend. Here's our trade. So our confirmation that we've reversed the downtrend is above 189. And that should be our first target in ETH US dollar. Have we, I've got a Coinbase levels here, but have we turned it around yet? You know, it's the same story. If we go from this short term, we look at this low to high, we're kind of waffling here sideways in the middle. I would say here, there's a risk that we do one more little push lower to this 50% level maybe before we rally, and that's at 144. But, you know, I'm open, I'm open to all of them doing this. It's, I'm just waiting for the signal really that we're on our way up again, and we haven't got it yet, unfortunately. So, short term, yeah, we're just going sideways in ETH. I much prefer 4 hour signal in this one. I really do think, I like to see, I really think there's a good chance that we go back a little bit lower, 50%, or even retest this 786 fib level. So just nothing seems to be quite ready to go yet. And one of the things that we haven't talked about that could be a really big drag, we've seen it before, especially in Asian trading, when the stock markets have had a really big sell-off day. We have before seen Bitcoin sold later on. And I don't know whether it used to be, I think when there was much more Bitcoin traded in Asia, people, selling Bitcoin to cover their margin for stock trades. Sometimes people, sometimes you sell what you can, not what you want to. But, and it's possible that the risk off kind of weight may weigh on Bitcoin later. And we may end up, going a bit further lower just because of that. Okay. So Litecoin has been pretty good as a leading indicator for Bitcoin before. So let's see if it's any help this time. If we look at Litecoin, Bitcoin, for me, we look pretty heavy here and sideways, trying to hold the lows and failing. In terms of big fibs in this one, and I'm going to zoom out, I think that we have further to fall, Litecoin against Bitcoin. So for me, Litecoin is set to underperform and head a little bit lower. 5429 is where I'm looking for us to end up in Litecoin, Bitcoin. Okay, so if we take a look at Litecoin US dollar though, Bossy wants to see my trading history. I've been doing a Monday Night Live for like 3 years, so you can see my recommendations every week if you like. I'm not going to type it up for you. You can go and look at it. Okay, so we're going to, let's take a look at Litecoin US dollar. A lot of people are like that. It's quite a journey learning to trade, and learning to be profitable is the hardest thing. When you think about it, what we're learning to do, is really simple. We want to buy something when it's going up and sell it when it stops going up and it's going down again. And, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Really it is, because there's so many emotions involved, and so, like you can learn a system or a trading system, but then learning to be profitable is the hardest thing. So this Litecoin chart is what makes me a little bit bearish. I like this as a kind of broadening wedge, but this is not the best, my favorite pattern, I have to say. And what I don't like here is this 786 fib level. It's a really strong support and resistance level. If we go left all the way across here, okay, let's get this even. Here, so we've got a pretty strong support and resistance level here with these lows here. And what I don't like is how we're underneath it in Litecoin US dollar and getting rejected and pushing lower. So for me, Litecoin, you know, it's not looking as healthy as Bitcoin. And if this one is leading the way, it does say that we're going to see lower prices. So let's go. It's distracting. Okay, now if we can't recover 48.72, if you're in Litecoin, yes, we could just draw this as a broadening wedge, and that's a very valid pattern here. And it could morph into a diamond pattern. You know, when you broaden out and then you tighten up again, you become a diamond pattern. That would be great. But what I really, you know, we're not going up in Litecoin US dollar until we can recover 48.72, a really big deal level, fib and otherwise. And if we don't, if we continue lower from here, then 36.35 is where we are headed to, unfortunately. So that's that. So we know now if we start to rally here in Litecoin, which we could do, we know where we're looking for to become bullish again. 48.72. Until then, I'm afraid sell rallies is favoured, I'm afraid. Fuck off. I hardly ever say things like that. Well, I try not to.
That's not true.
No, I don't. I try to be nice. Oh, okay. Here's another one that's a bearish chart. I've got Neo ETH. Let's look at Neo US dollar. Or Neo Tether. Here's Neo US dollar. I'm afraid we're back in downtrend mode in this one. Didn't quite, if I draw the fibs from here to here, we didn't quite make the 50, well, we didn't. Let's do it. We didn't quite make the 50% level. So I'm wondering if we're looking at the swing from this high. Either way, we've got a double top in Neo. And whenever you get a double top like this, then you measure from the confirmation level underneath. So here's your double top. And your target is twice the distance. So if that's the case here, then we're going to go twice from the high to the low. So our target is a retest of these lows and the bottom of the trend, the range in Neo US dollar. So this is another one, unfortunately, that's saying lower. What we're also is not looking happy for Neo US dollar is underneath all these daily moving averages again. You know, we got underneath the 50 and now it's resistance. So clearly we're staying bearish Neo dollar unless we can recover this support and resistance level where these daily moving averages are at 10.09. So yeah, Neo is a proper heartbreaker. It really is. And I was so encouraged. You know, I really liked this first big rally, and then this, I felt like this was a big ABC and another one here, and that we were starting a new swing. But you know, this pattern here underneath these moving averages, these should have been support if we were going to keep going higher. So Neo, I'm afraid, is looking like it's going back to 6.8. So if we make don't hang on, you know, don't hang on. Okay, so that's Neo. I'm afraid not so happy. Now ADA, I got excited about ADA over the weekend because I thought that there was a real chance that we would break out of this sideways range, this resistance. You know, whenever, if I draw the fib retrace levels from December 2018 in ADA to the highs that we made in June, okay, then the fib levels are like a staircase. You know, you can see here, we bounce from the 786, drop down to this 886. It's a triple bottom down here. If we can get back above this 786 level, we should continue high. The problem is that we didn't. We failed. And, you know, we're back in this sideways range again in this one as well. And so this is ADA against Tether. If this is what we're doing against Tether, then it really doesn't matter what it's, you know, it's not really going up, is it? So I would leave this one on the back burner. I would put an alert on this high up here. So 0.04416. If we come back up there, then we want to know, because we'll be going up again. If we can get out of this sideways range that we're in, if this really is a false breakdown down here, then we should pop out of the top of this range and everything would be good. So that's what we're going to look for in ADA Tether. If we take a look at ADA Bitcoin, which is probably how a lot of you are trading it, let's do ADA Bitcoin. This was the breakout that I was looking for in ADA against Bitcoin. So again, these highs, 528 was the level. 528 was the level that we needed to get back above if ADA was going to start to going properly tracking higher. And so far, little false break higher and no deal. In fact, this is starting now to look like we've made a kind of elongated ABC correction. If I measure from this low to this high, project it from here, this becomes a big ABC correction. So unless we can get above this kind of bullish, this bearish symmetry at 551, the path of least resistance is lower. Now, one of the ways, you know, when I see an ABC correction like this, the way I trade it is I put fib levels on from the lows to the highs. So from both the A, B, C swings. And then if we break underneath, let me get rid of the others because we don't need them. If we break underneath this 236 fib level, which is here at 522, then that's our bearish reversal. And you can see today, yesterday we held above it, but today we're underneath this 522 level. So for me, if you come more than 236 fib from this low to high, that's our bearish reversal. We're looking for a bigger correction. And very often, you know, these ABC patterns, if they don't make a new low, they come all the way to a 786 fib retrace, which is a long way back down here at these lows. So not looking back so good for ADA either. I'm afraid that's going to be back on the back burner. That would have been a really, if we had this as a, you know, if we had this as a sideways horizontal range and we could have broken out of the top of it, that would have been a really nice long setup, but we've just failed again. So another fake out breakout in ADA, I'm afraid. Okay, so let's take a look at BCH. Little bit of a happier chart when we look at it against Bitcoin, as in we've been trading sideways for about 10 days now, since the low that we made on the 22nd of November, without much effect, to be honest. Now, we talked about, you know, the 236 fib being a confirmation level if you can go beyond it. Here, well, let's look here at what we've done here in BCH, because we've had some really spiky days where we've had a really good explore all the way up in terms of price. But on every one of these rallies, we have not been able to close higher than this 236 fib. And that's a problem, because they're just explorations. They're trying to trick people and then they come all the way back and dump on them. So until we see a daily close above 0.02945, I think, for BCH against Bitcoin, we're not really going up. We're just tricking people. I think that went all the way 50% and came back, which would be quite bearish. There we go, 50%. And 50% is what you normally do in a correction, a sign of a correction. So, yeah, I want to see a daily close above 0.02945. And then I think that we'll potentially see another swing higher. Otherwise, I would leave BCH against Bitcoin alone. And if we look at it against the US dollar or against Tether, we'll look at it against the US dollar. You see, we're just bimbling along the bottom here. And again, put a fib on from this high to this low. Now that did close. That is a little interesting. We might see some higher prices, you know, here against the US dollar. That would be quite good. Okay. So I think that we could bounce off the lows here in Bitcoin, cash, US dollar. It doesn't look like we're going to outperform Bitcoin though. So let's take a look at BSV, Bitcoin Cash SV. Again, we'll start with this one against Tether. We'll look at our daily chart. Now, take all of these fib levels away and lines away. We'll just look at these moving averages, okay? So, if we're in a downtrend, we come down to the 200 and bounce, and these daily moving averages are resistance. We try a really big rally and try and recover the 200 moving average, and we fail again. Now we're back underneath, bearish cross of these moving averages. Really, this is a big fat sideways range, but this is all pointing to lower, unfortunately, for Bitcoin Cash SV, unless we can recover and get above the highs of last week. The highs of last week put us above those moving averages that are support and resistance when we're in a downtrend, and that would suggest that we have another go, in which case this is a big A leg, a B leg, and then we're looking for a C leg to take us up again. But no way to know when this down leg is over yet. It may be that we need to wait for something more obvious like a double bottom or a bigger base here. So in terms of tether, we're not quite ready. Now, let's take a look at this 4 hour, because I did get quite hopeful for this one. And then my hopes, as usual, were shattered. Here we go. So let's put our 61.8, 38.2. Here we are, and we're kind of bouncing. If we draw our lows from the lows in September to the highs that we made in October, we're bouncing from a 61.8 fib. Normally, when you would do that, you would see a pullback and then you would rally to the 38.2. So there is a good chance, I think, that we rally back up here to around 119 in BSV. And then we see what happens there. What tends to happen when you bounce around between a 61.8 and a 38.2 is this 50% level in the middle becomes a bit of a pivot level. So we would probably pull back to that before we pull away again higher. So there is some hope. You know, I would say BSV against Tether is more sideways than lower. So let's see. Would we rather be in BSV than Bitcoin? So if we're sideways against the dollar, you know, not at the moment. But again, there's a big 61.8 level here. We're retesting it. We could very easily find support here and rally away from it. But momentum has completely died today. And we're just flat and sideways. Same as Bitcoin. So a really good potential level for us to bounce from. Let's see. Show my current BitMEX position. No, we're not. It's all in Binance. Sorry. Okay. So that's BSV, Bitcoin Cash, BSV, pretty neutral, you know, just like Bitcoin. We're at levels we really could see a decent bounce from, but no sign of it happening yet, just like Bitcoin, unfortunately. And alts, a lot of important alts looking pretty heavy. So BSV is done. Now Ripple. Ripple's been a bit of a heartbreaker. Let's start with a daily chart of Ripple against Bitcoin, because, and we'll try to tidy this up. Let's clean up, chart clean up, and we'll start again. Okay. We're going to go to a weekly chart of Ripple, because we've done a really nice, from the lows to the highs, we've done a really nice 886 fib pullback and a really nice bounce off a big 886 fib level as well. I would like to see us rally back and test this 786 fib from here after this lovely bounce, but so far we seem to be really struggling. You know, we've had one really impressive looking leg higher, we've had a pullback, and now we need to see another leg. Connor, you can come back every night. We miss you, Connor. We really do. And MATIC's been a lot of fun without you. You should come back. Okay, so Let's see now, Ripple on the daily, because are we going to find some support here? Are we at a level where we might find some support? Because really, we've been going sideways since the 25th of October. You know, it's about time we built a bit of a base and turned it around, don't you think? And we see at least, even if this is just an ABC, I'd like to see another leg of a higher. So let's see where we are. And we're really, no man's land. This is the thing with this 618, 382, golden ratio, you know, sideways, no man's land really, where the bulls and the bears fight it out. So unless we break down the lows of this range, 2905, that would suggest another leg lower to 2620. But if we break out the top, then potentially next leg higher underway. So neutral, sideways, just like Bitcoin, really hoping that we can make a base here, but no sign of it yet. So let's see some Ripple dollar. Let's stick it. Tether. This one. This chart says it all, really, doesn't it? Unfortunately. So we'll take those fibs away. Take these fibs away. Now, new lows in Ripple. If we take the closing price here, then the closing price is what we couldn't get above from this swing low here, not the spike. That's where we couldn't get above. So we're going to call that kind of trouble level, 0.23. And I'm afraid Ripple dollar still in a downtrend. Where are we going to go from here? Let's see it this way. I like to take the most recent swing, okay? So from this low to this high, this is our most recent swing. Okay, and if we break the low here, then we're looking for extension. So we're going to look for 1272 first, 1.618 next. So if we make a new low, if we close below 0.2133, then we should be headed lower to 0.186 and then 0.151. So really would be a good idea if Ripple could find some support here, don't you think? Sometimes it's really good to do a bunch of other projections and see if everything lines up with support here. So I would take these legs. Yeah, that's a 1272 there, maybe from here. That's the support that we're sitting on right here, the 1272 from this correction. And so again, if this breaks, then we're still looking down here, aren't we? So that's not so good. So yeah, Ripple on the back burner needs to do a bit more to convince me it's not going down anymore, I'm afraid. Next one we're going to look at is ZRX. Okay. Now let's start with the weekly with ZRX against Bitcoin, because we've had a really impressive rally off the lows. We've recovered the weekly 20 moving average, and for 7 weeks now we've been sitting on it, holding it as support. What that looks like on the daily is a move above the 200 moving average and then some sideways consolidation, just while we get comfy up here and hopefully think about another leg higher. The problem is that corrections, especially if this is a rally, corrections are usually at least 3 waves. So this is starting to look like this was a 1 and this is our 2, and we need another, another swing lower. It makes me a little bit nervous. I would be less nervous if we rallied more than 50%. And you can see at the moment in ZRX, 50% against Bitcoin is where we can't get beyond. That's usually a sign that it's a correction and it's not finished, and that potentially we're going to see another leg lower. If we do that here, so there, that's that. If we do that here, then if this was our first leg and this is the high is in, then 27.43 would be where our next swing is, sort of 61.8 of the first one. That's very common in a correction. And let's look at some retrace levels from this low as well. It's not really lining up. Oh no. So we might see a bit of a deeper one. So we can put some parameters around this now. We might come back and test this 200 moving average here. That would be a good look for a correction over. But you know, if it doesn't, and if we get underneath this level, or if we get underneath 27.43, we're looking down towards 2,100, 2,150. Tripped economy. You know, we used to have a in my group on Facebook, we used to have group chat. Facebook gave us group chat, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely buzzing, and it was so easy to get on your phone. And then they took it away for groups, private groups, which was a killer. So we had a bit of a vote with everybody, and instead of Discord, we went with Slack. So we do have a pretty good Slack group, and it is easy to share there. But yeah, yeah. So there we go. It's just not quite as convenient as Facebook, and it's really annoying that Facebook did that. So, you know, I don't know. I really need to get off Facebook completely, I think. But we're going to look at revamping and improving next year. Okay. Crypto economy stuff. I've seen all these analysis talking about 1,500 Bitcoin and all this craziness. I have. And, you know, I can buy the argument about the halvening and being different this time. And we might sell into that. But I really, at the moment, I don't see it below 5,400. So I really do think that low that we made at 3,200 was an important low, and I don't think we're going back underneath it. So let's see. The longs climbing in the direction of all-time high is annoying. I have to say that I don't trust the Bitfinex data so much anymore. I used to, and I don't trust it so much. So ZRX Bitcoin, I'm not entirely convinced that we're going up, but I'm dead wrong. I think that there's room for another leg lower, but I'm dead wrong if we go beyond this 50% level, or we trade beyond 3630, 3630. You know, if we rally from here, that would be cool. Okay, and then you have, you know, if you're swinging it, you could have your stop under this little pullback, and we would be carrying on higher. It just doesn't have the right look yet. I think this looks too corrective, and so that would be a better marginal new low. Everybody gives up like Bitcoin, and then fight back. Okay, I'm the second person. Okay, I've seen it before. You know that the thing is that I think that big players can use Bitcoin, can use Bitfinex to move stuff around, and it distorts the data. We haven't done VET yet. Nobody voted for VET. So go to Matt, we'll do VET at the end. Okay, that was ZRX. We're going to look at ENG. Now, ENG was a recommendation on a Monday night 2 weeks ago, and we recommended it again last week, and ENG is like been amazing. Well, pretty good anyway. Let's see. I can't remember where ENG lives. There we go. Here we go, ENG. Now, I'm going to put my daily chart on, okay, because this is where we looked at it 2 weeks ago, and then it's carried on rallying. Now, I thought that we might get a little bit tripped up at this 236 fib, and in fact, this was our first target, this big pink line here, and we've gone beyond it. That's really cool that we've gone beyond it. Let me draw this again. So from this high to this low, when we had our big bottoming pattern, I'll draw this 236 fib in, that was our first target here. So we've gone beyond it. Now, normally that would be support. So as long as we hold above this, where we've stalled as these previous highs, normally this would be support, and we should carry on higher from here. If we don't, then we're in a bigger correction, and this is where I would take some profit off and wait for the bigger pullback. So we, again, just like Bitcoin, we're right on that level today where we really want to hold this as support and it not do anything too tricky, or maybe an ABC and a bit lower. I would say if you're watching this, you know, this is really the level. If we go a bit lower, then we'll do an equal measured move, which is going to take us down to about 62.48. I would not be in it then, because there's no guarantee that we're going to hold that support. And you can see how this 200 moving average on the hourly has been support all the way up. And then you don't want to be underneath it, because what would happen then is we could, you know, do this and then we find resistance, and then, you know, we're in a much bigger correction. So, you know, for me, if it breaks here, I would get out, wait and see. And then if we get back above this level, find support, then that's me back in here. Okay, it you know, so pretty crucial, I'm afraid, in Enigma, but still in a really nice uptrend. Like, you still want to be buying pullbacks. Enigma Bitcoin is in a really nice uptrend, well above the 200 moving average. Let's take a quick look at the weekly on this one, because you can see this is also our weekly 200 moving average, and this may be that little bit further where we come back to. You know, when you get above these big ones, they should be support. So if we look at where the weekly 200 is, 6366, maybe where we end up coming back to. So if you're looking at this one, where could I get in, that's a really good spot to watch. 6366. And look how we just marked that weekly moving average level. If we measure, same price, so 6390 to 6366 then becomes a really cool place to look for us to find support and turn up higher again in this one. So ENG, we're in a bit of a correction, but I like it to find support and go higher. EOS has been surprisingly strong lately. Let's talk about EOS. Was it just a fake out? Was it just an ABC correction? This is what we want to know. Now, it wasn't a head and shoulders pattern, so this wasn't really a neckline, but it was a pretty cool rally. Let's see how far we got and what we're going to do. So we stopped at, unfortunately, from this high to low, 50% of this swing. That's a bit of a worry. Whenever you stop at 50% in a correction, it's like a mean reversion when you go halfway back, and mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting. So then from this high to low, we're probably going to come back 50% here, and we're not quite there yet. We've got a little bit further to go in EOS Bitcoin till we get to that 50% level at 36.13. So just they tend to do that. If you see a 50% correction, very often you can expect a 50% correction going the other way. Ian Jones says Bitcoin on the daily is 3 black crows. Is it? We'll go and take a look at that at the end again. We'll recap Bitcoin at the end. So EOS Bitcoin has a little bit further to fall before I think we can find some support here on the hourly short term. And here, let's recap where we are on the daily and have a look, see, because when we zoom out on the daily, unfortunately, final legs, okay, so even in a correction, final legs tend to be 5 waves. So if this is from the high in April, our final leg lower in EOS, then this looks like a 1, 2, 3, and we look like we're in a wave 4. And not only that, but wave 4 very often tend to be triangles or wedges. So although EOS against Bitcoin looks pretty bouncy, I have to say that when I zoom out and I look at this, I think, this looks like it could just, you know, break down, and we'll see one final leg lower in EOS Bitcoin just because of that shape. Now, I'm wrong, obviously. If we break the double top highs, we'll be going up, and then potentially the next place to look for a problem would be the equal measured move from this first swing. So if we measure the first swing here, we project it from this final one, that's where I'd look for trouble in the 200 moving average. But if we break down again, or if we close again below this fib level at 34.90, I'm afraid I think that this would be a wedge breakdown and a sell setup in EOS Bitcoin. Okay, let's take a quick look at EOS US dollar. downtrend still. You know, we flattened out a bit, haven't we? And a bit of a swing failure pattern here, but this rejection at the 20 moving average doesn't say that we're going up again yet, does it? It looks like a retest of the lows. So EOS, although it was a little bit tempting against Bitcoin earlier, is back on the that's my dog, I know. I'm sorry. Now, would we sell EOS right here? I would say probably not. Look, like Bitcoin in the rally from the lows, this is a 38.2 fib, quite important. It's a retest of that swing low over the weekend. It's a hourly 200 moving average. It's more likely than anything, you know, if this is a funky correction, to carry on higher. So, you know, I would say not right here, but if we rallied up like this, that's 2, 3, so that would be, you know, then we would sell here. In fact, I would just put EOS on the back burner. You know, it's bounced, but it doesn't look like it's anything I want to do except let it sort itself out for a minute. You know, whether that means a retest of the lows or whatever. So I would pass on EOS for a bit. ERD, here's a nice little coin. That someone in our group is very fond of. We'll start with a daily of Elrond. Why do I really like Elrond? Well, I really like Elrond because it's really good at levels. Look how, when we turn it around off the bottom, these highs become support for not for a little bit, but for like 2 weeks. And then here again, we're now above this high. This high is now our support, and hopefully for another leg higher. And initially, this 236 fib that we drew all the way from the highs here in July 2019 in Elrond. This is a Binance coin. I haven't gone from the highs because that kind of didn't. When I'm drawing fib levels, okay, because this first leg was such a big spike, look. When I'm drawing fib levels, I'm looking for the 236 to have a reaction, and then you kind of know that you've got it. So this was the lowest low. This was the 236 fib, and we had a perfect reaction. So that's why I've drawn it from that swing for now. Okay, I could have drawn it from this most recent one, but then once we went beyond it, I'm looking for bigger levels. And so far, the bigger levels are really working. So I think that we can say when we break out from this consolidation, we're going to retest 34, this double top level here. And then when we break above 34, we're looking for 41 and then 47 as we keep going higher in Elrond, hopefully. So all looking really good. Bunched up moving averages, waiting for a breakout, hasn't happened yet. Third touches, this is a good lesson. Third touches of trend lines are very often false breaks, and then after that you wait for the real break. So if we drew this line like this, we've got one touch, two touch, third touch, false break, validates it, and then we'll wait for the next one. So Elrond on a break, let's do the fibs from this high to low to see where we are. Gosh, I think above 28, a close above 28 would be a good, maybe not, but Elrond anyway. Let's move this out, look for a breakout, and next leg higher to 34 and then 41. Really nice look. It's just a matter of when. Next one. Sideways, no reason to get out yet if you're in it, but Manetha. Is it MTH? Yeah. MTH, hold on. Okay. Now. This chart, honestly, Manetha Bitcoin just says indecision to me. I thought this was a spectacular 5-wave rally. It certainly has a look, doesn't it? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I thought we'll have a nice 3-wave, and then we'll carry on. But what we've done really since September is just a big fat nothing against Bitcoin. The good news about that is that whatever Bitcoin's doing is Monetha is tending to do as well. So sideways range, waiting for a breakout, nothing happening. A breakout from here though, from this would be a break higher from here, would be a break above the 200 moving average, which has been really important resistance from this. So I would just have my alarm on this upper line. I would stay in Bitcoin until we break above this line, in which case I think Monetha will start to no, don't do that. Okay, push the wrong button, sorry. In which case I think Monetha then will start to outperform Bitcoin. Until then, I don't really see much reason to be buying it. But if we just did an ABC correction here in Monetha, if this is our first leg, A, B, and then we measure from here, you can see that this second leg, or if we measure even from here, the second leg, equal measure move, takes us to our 236 fib target at 349. So on a breakout above this 200-day moving average, that would be my first target, 347 on this trade. And then we'll see what happens there. Above 347, then we can start talking about a bigger, proper trend reversal. But that would be the first target for this one, Monetha. Let's take a quick look at Monetha dollar, because a lot of these are not, they're not very inspiring, are they? They have much promise, This big rally got everybody excited, and then since then momentum has just died, and we're sort of bouncing around the lows. So this one here, this is quite a good lesson in moving averages in Monetha, because really since the end of September, the daily 50 moving average has been our problem. We haven't been able to close above it, or we go up and we bang our head on it, and that's it. And so, the first time we see a close above that daily 50 moving average, that would be a change of behavior. That would be our bullish reversal that we would need to see, and that would be a really good sign. So till then, not much we can do, and we're just being held down, profit taking every time we get there. Okay, IOST is next. What a lovely breakout in this coin. Look at this daily chart. So we looked at this before. This is really what this right, is what you want to see when you see a strong impulsive rally. Even if it's just going to be an ABC, you want to see a big rally, a 3-wave correction, and then another leg. So this is a perfect example of what we want to see. I've got my Heikin-Ashi candles on here. So big strong rally, ABC, ABC back, and now we're looking for another leg higher. And this next leg higher will likely have a relationship to this first one. I'm going to put a fib projection on this low to the high like this and see where that puts us, because at least 1.618. And take that away. Okay, so if we go from this pullback, if we go to the 1.618 extension of this correction, that takes us to the big 236 fib from this high to the low. Now my dog wants to go out. She's really wanting to steal the show tonight. So, okay, so I'm going to say that 122 really should be our big target in IOST Bitcoin. That's where we should be headed, provided we can make a new high, because that's very often where you get tripped up. So, but otherwise, I'm looking for 121, 122 on the upside. We are going to have a wobble at the 200 moving average, I think, before we get there. It tends to do that, but this is a lovely, lovely pattern setting up in IOST. So, there is one more thing we can do here. We'll see where we might. Yeah. Doesn't quite line up. Okay. Right then. So I think 99, 100 first target, and then 121 second target for IOST Bitcoin. Lovely bull flag breakout. Another way to calculate it is this is the flag, and then we calculate it from the breakout, and that equal. It's a bit lower actually. Anyway, so yeah, very nice look in IOST buy pullbacks. Now, buy pullbacks means we shouldn't probably go back underneath the flag. It should be a shallow pullback, but that's what I'd be looking for. So I'd have my Heikin-Ashi on, I'd wait, and a little correction like this, and then I would watch for it to break higher, and then that would be my long entry. So if you haven't got any IOST yet, don't buy it on a spike when it's all green like this. That's a really awful place to enter, because I guarantee you the first thing it will do is come back. So if you wait for a couple of red candles and a bit of consolidation, and then wait for that consolidation to break higher, your entries will have so much more chance of success. Don't be the one that buys the high. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is DLT, which is Agrello. Haven't looked at DLT for a while. Let's see what's going on there. I think that this is one that Petra in our group likes. And Petra's usually got a very good eye. So let's start with the weekly. See what's going on, because we've got a bit of trouble here in Agrello. And the trouble comes from the weekly 20 moving average and these prior highs that we just don't seem to be able to get above. And it's got that kind of corrective look, which is very frustrating, but also very positive, because we know what we've got to see or what we've got to get above if we're going to go higher. So in Agrello, we've really got to get above 637, 640. Okay, so when we go down to the daily, you can see, look how many times we've tested it and not managed it, and this 200 moving average. So a move above 640 and this would be a very nice long entry, and until then not much we can do, I'm afraid, except put an alert up here. So on the back burner for me, and that's one more thing. It's not quite an equal measured move. The thing is, you know, with moving averages, when you flip them bullish and like this, and you buy pullbacks and you're trading counter trend, so your target is always the 200 moving average, because the 200 moving average on any time frame, hourly, daily, weekly, is the king of the chart. That's your considered your trend guide. So if you trade counter trend, your target is always back to that 200 moving average. And then once you're on the right side of the 200 moving average, in other words, you're trading with the trend, that's your support. That's where you're wrong. So it's really nice if you can to get entries, you know, pretty close to them, the 200 moving average. So that's why we're going to be watching this very closely, because if we can get above it, then we should have a really nice reversal. So, but not yet then for DLT, I think, unfortunately. So next one we're going to look at is CELR. Oh, I can't find it. That's weird. Here we go. Is Libra still a thing? Well, they have that Libra token, don't they? We're going to look at it anyway. CELR, this is why we're looking at this one, because we've got this lovely resistance level. This, you know, when you're in a downtrend, okay, you make lower lows and lower highs, okay? And when you reverse your downtrend, you take out that previous lower high and you make a higher high. So this, then, this most recent high before the last swing lower becomes very important and level to take out if we're going to turn this trend around. Here in CELR, we had a really good peak above it today and just couldn't do it, could we? So very close. Now we still might. We might do a bit of a shallow pullback here and then have another go. A close above this level certainly would be a really positive sign, but not quite yet, unfortunately, for CELR. And what we may see as well is we may see a pullback to find support from the previous swing low or the 20 moving average, having got rejected at such a big level, unfortunately. So close, not quite there yet. So above 69 will be cooking with gas, I think, for this one. But until then, we have to wait. Where would our targets be? So I usually look for, I'm going to go for that high. So I'm looking at that high, and the reason is that this looks like a big A, B, C, and this kind of looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, last 5 wave swing lower. And when I do that, you know, this 236 fib kind of lines up with the 200 moving average. So if we break out of this sideways range, that's going to be our first target, 95 and the 200-day moving average for CELR. Really close. It had a little go today, but not quite. Okay, next one we're going to look at is Libra. By that I mean Libra credit. It's a Huobi one. So the reason we're looking at this, we've got a lot of levels here. The reason that we're looking at this is it does look like it's made a really nice bottom. It made a really nice little baby head and shoulders bottom here that it rallied from, and it, step by step it's kind of behaved all the way. And here we are holding above the 200-day moving average, consolidating. This is what you want to see if we're going to hold a 200 moving average and then power away from here. The momentum looks like it's just beginning to turn up higher again. And so if we go down and we look at this 4-hour consolidation, what we're really doing is we're looking for a breakout from it to say that we're on our way up again. And it kind of looks like it is. The problem is with these consolidation zones is very often it'll just be the first, you know, it'll do another one and it won't get beyond 50% of the drop. So let's see if we've managed it this time. 50 or 61.8, and then it'll just struggle. In this case, it's a 61.8. I think actually this looks quite good to go higher from here. We're not going to be out of trouble. I think it's an interesting buy, certainly. You know where you're wrong under that daily 200 moving average. It does look like we are starting to turn up higher again. The only place we'll know we're wrong is if we can't make a new high. And this high comes, of course, or we get stuck with these highs. But that's not the last swing lower. So, no, I think it has a good look. So our next upside target would be 392, which is the big swing 236 fib level. So 392, next objective on a breakout from higher from this consolidation in Libra credit. Not Libra credit. And finally, we're going to look at Atom. I've got a gazillion charts open tonight. I shouldn't have had so many open. I apologize. Okay. So this is another one where we're looking for a pullback to a really nice level. So I'm going to zoom all the way out and look at Atom Binance chart. So from the all-time high to the all-time low in this chart, in other words, from May to September, we've really respected these fib levels very nicely. This 236 fib was a triple top. This 38.2 fib held us back for a couple of weeks or so, and now we're holding above it. So we're looking for this level. Support becomes resistance, 49.28 to hold, and we see the next step higher in this one to 58.96, which is the big 50%. It's like climbing a staircase. So here in Atom, we're going to go down low time frame. See how we're pulling back, and we've done, I think, already a nice ABC correction here, pulling back. I'm looking for this to hold this and pull away. So sideways range. If you buy, when you've got a sideways range, you try and buy the lows and sell the highs, and you look for a breakout. So here's our sideways range, low, low, low. Here's our top of the range, high, high, high. Okay, so you buy it down here. You're looking for this top of the range to break, and then we are on our way for the next leg up. Okay, so Love Cosmos, very close to support. So this is low risk reward. Why is it low risk reward? Because the amount you risk is how much you lose if you're wrong. We know we're wrong if we close under 49.28. So we're very close to that. Okay, MATIC. We're going to look at MATIC for Connor. MATIC network. This is another one that's really behaving really well. So again, from the high that we made in May 2019 to the low that we made in August this year, we are climbing the fib levels. This was the 236 fib. The 38.2 everybody ignored. The 50% though was pretty well respected, and the 61.8 has been respected perfectly as well. If we reverse, now we could just do a little pullback like shallow like we did here and carry on higher, but because this is a 61.8 fib, if we break this 50 level in the middle, we're going to come back to the 38.2 and we're going to do one of those bigger corrections. So 61.8, you're always watching to see if we do one of those kind of golden level reversals, aren't we? How are we going to know? Well, if we look at Japanese candlesticks, you know, at the moment this is a little harami, an inside bar. It's indecision. This is another little inside bar. In Japanese candlesticks, if you stay in the top half, or if you, this is a big Maribosu, so if you don't close below the 50% of this open close, they call that the Maribosu line, and that's at 351. So as long as we don't see a daily close below 351, this is not then a bearish harami. It's just a little pullback level. I think if we get a daily close below 351, we're going to see a bigger pullback to that 50% level at 327. And then if we close below 327, we've got a bigger pullback. Look how far we are from this daily 20 moving average. You see, in MATIC, this is not a great place for new longs, really. If you're holding your long and wondering, should I stay in, should I get out? I would say that that Maribosu line would be my bull bear line. And if we break it, I'd be looking back to 268. So far so good. Reaction here has been pretty good. You know, not a disaster yet. If we get back above this high in the middle, hopefully, you know, but that's where I'm going to say I'm wrong, and that's where I would, if I were big swinging it, I would just wait for the bigger pullback in MATIC. So not an ideal place for new longs, really. If you're not long, I think you'd be hoping this would break down and give you that better entry. Okay, so that's MATIC. We're going to look at Algorand. Hello, Turbo Dolphin. Let's see where Algorand is. I may not have a chart ready, so in which case, we'll just go and make one. That's okay. God, what a nice looking bottom this is. Sounds rude when you say it, doesn't it? But this looks lovely. Now, I think I'm going to put my fibs on here, which is the highest high. That one? No, that one. Okay. Doesn't quite line up, does it? But I love this reaction here. This is a really lovely uptrend beginning. Bullish cross of our moving averages. We haven't got a 200-day moving average, so we haven't really got a thing to shoot for now. If we put our fibs all the way from the high highs, I don't know which chart has more history. Let me just make sure there's not a better. It's pretty much the same, isn't it? Except that is a higher high. You know, I think that is. Let's say 50% of this last 5 wave swing lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we're going to say 50%. And this previous low would be a good target for me. 5285. There is this little bit of a level here, though. that might trip us up again. That's what we've got to get above 4,000. This high here, but it's just a support and resistance level. It's not too bad. That's what I'm looking for. I think this is lovely, and I would set target for 5285 next. Let's see how this looks. The problem with this is, and this support and resistance level is, if we don't get above it, very often corrections are 3 waves. So it may be that this is 1, 2, 3, and we retest this 236 fib level again if we can't get above this. So just watch that we do get above that 4,000, 4,030. This is, a lovely, got a lovely look to this chart. And again, this is a daily candle, big Maribosu. Okay, you mark where. So if you were long of this and you watched it rally, 50% here, 3421. Okay, it's from the open close, so you ignore the tail, 3421. So then it's 3421. As long as you don't close below that, you would stay long, or I would, if I was swinging it, I would stay long. So there's our 3421 exactly. Okay, take that away. It's amazing how these work. And here on the hourly, look what a great pullback entry that would have given you when you see that 50% back, because you can halve your risk. You can put your buy order here and then your stop at the bottom of the candle, and you've literally halved your risk. So as long as this makes a new high and above 4,000, I think we're all good to go to 5285. But just watch that we don't, do a 3-wave correction here. It's a lovely chart, Algorand. So the really big level that we hit in VChain is not just the 236 fib, but if I go to the daily, let's go to the weekly, regular candles. See these lows? It's a big support and resistance level at 106. And today, this morning, when we looked at this morning, we were trading well above this line. And I said to everybody in the group, because we've been long of this one, we've now got 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. So it's really important that we close above this 106 level. Otherwise, this is just a little peak above, and we could end up with a really bearish reversal. And that's what we've ended up getting. So, is this a good short here? It could be now, but we're in a pretty strong uptrend, and it's just a big level. Where are we likely to come back to? Because this is 5 ways up, I'm going to draw my fibs from all the way from the lows, and I'm going to say that our first most likely pullback level here is at 92, but I would expect 92 or 81, but we could do a big, if this is a big wave 1, we could come all the way back to 72 or even, 61.8. So watch we don't come back too far. This is a really good place to take some profit if you've been long of VChain. And when I talk about close above a line, okay, I mean a date. Okay, in most instances, Daddy, I mean the daily. Okay, so, here, we were trading above this line on the hourly this morning. We wanted to see if we could hold above it. So by here, we got above it here, look. And if we're going to hold above it on the hourly, we would see that. Okay, but we didn't. We got above it and we dropped back underneath it again sharply. And so that's what I'm usually looking for. Okay, so now, so what would I do now? If we rallied back from here and then did this, I would close my longs. Okay. If we rallied back here now and then got above it and then did this, I would buy it back again here. I think, but this, even if it's a good place to potentially take some partial profits, because this is a good place for a bigger correction here in VChain. That's all I mean, really. Okay. Hope that helps. Go to Matt. And then big picture, there's nothing not to like. We're trading solidly above this 200 moving average. We've got a beautiful cross here, 50 above the 200. It looks lovely. So the daily close is different in different time zones, and I've got it on this one. I like to use UTC. Then everybody looks at the same. Listen, these are all lovely bullish charts. It just means correction levels. Doesn't mean the end of the uptrend. But I think it's good risk management when you get to big correction levels to take some partial profit and buy it back lower if you can. Okay, let's take a quick look at Zen, Horizon, Zen, I think, and see what's going on. Gosh, I can't find it. Never mind. We'll here we go. Now look at this daily chart. Isn't this lovely? So remember, here when you get down at the lows, okay, when you get a bullish cross of your daily moving averages, which we got here, and a lovely little breakout down here, your target is always back to the 200 moving average. That's where we're at. Okay, and now we've done this. We're holding above it nicely. We've got this lovely consolidation. Now, I don't know if we're going to go higher from here or not. We may end up, you know, given the level that we're at, we may end up doing a bit of a right shoulder even, you know, and that would still be bullish. We're still, you know, pulling everything up in the right direction. But I do know that if we break out from this highs, that we've got a really good thing going on. So, and that would be a really nice long after we rally, go sideways, let everything catch up, and then head off north again. So let's go from this high to low and look at this. It lines up perfectly again with that 236 fib from this last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave swing lower here. So 7866 is the level we have to close above if we're going to go higher in Horizon. Okay, it's an important resistance level. 7866. So this is what I'd be watching this on lower time frames. See if we can do it. So far, we haven't really had a really horrible sell-off against it. We just got knocked back and we're going sideways. So let's try again. If we can break above it this time and then find some support from it, that would be lovely. That's what I'm looking for. So holding underneath big deal resistance in Zen, and we're bullish above 7866. And then we would be looking for 10,400 and then 12,470 in Zen. Okay, I hope that was helpful. If you'd like to come and try my group, we do this every day, morning and evening, and sometimes we look at some features and FX too. We nailed the high today in the futures, which was quite nice. Come and have a look, and if you don't like it or if it's not for you, you get your money back. So no babble. So there you go. All right then. Thanks for coming. See everybody next week. I hope you all have a really great week. And good luck. This key, let's go back to Bitcoin. We're at a really kind of key juncture here. And the naughty thing about Bitcoin is that when it gets to a key level that everybody's looking at, so here we're looking at a BitMEX chart. So from this rally, we're sitting right on the 50% back, you know, which is a very common place to bounce from. So everybody's looking for this. So what might happen here? You know what? It wouldn't surprise me, especially with Bitcoin. Remember how Bitcoin always fakes you out the wrong way before it goes the right way? I'm kind of thinking that I'd almost like to see a fakey break lower and then a move higher. It would be more bullish. In fact, it's so bad with Bitcoin that if it spiked higher, I probably wouldn't trust it. But that's just me. So, okay. Good luck, everybody. See you next Monday. Send me a message on Twitter or anywhere else if you would like me to look at a coin for you. Okay? Crypto Economy, thank you very, very much. Listen, I don't publish my profit and loss. Do you know, sometimes, quite often, when I'm staring at a chart, it's like moves happen when I'm staring at a chart. I don't have the greatest entry. What I'm really trying to do is teach you, you know, to trend follow for yourself, to recognize the signs of when things have stopped going up and have stopped going one way and are starting to go the other way, and protect your profit. So I am a trend follower. That means that I don't always get the best entry the first. I'm not the first one in, and I'm not always the first one out, but I usually am a good, you know, if I get out, it's usually because it's really stopped going up. So, okay. Bye, everyone.